roads are nice and dry, and this is just to prove my point that I do use the Herald for what I call real trips as well as jollies. This is a trip I would have had to have made anyway. I'm travelling to the neighbouring town of Hingham just to go to the chemist, just to pick up a couple of bits, and as the roads are dry, why not use the Herald? Okay, it may not be very thrilling for those of you that are watching, but you never know what you might see on a journey out, so why not bring the camera along? Heaven forbid that there would be any incidents on this little trip out, but I suppose the fact that I've got the camera effectively acting as a dash cam will at least prove that if anything happens, it's not my fault. Well, at least I assume it's not going to be my fault. Pride comes before the fall, they say, but I do try and drive fairly defensively. Also a test with the microphone and the well, the transmitter and the receiver in a different place, just to see if I can finally eradicate the very last of the dropouts. Open her up a bit so we don't hold the traffic up. We certainly hear the wind noise at 50. You can hear even more wind noise at 55. You certainly get plenty of fresh air in a Herald convertible, whether you've got the top up or down. I've got a nice draft whizzing just across the top of my head. I suppose I notice it a bit more nowadays because the old hair's getting a little bit thinner. Not that I'd admit that in public, of course. previous journeys out, if you've been with me, that I do quite like Hingham. It's a very nice Georgian town. The middle of it is almost completely unspoiled. Those who've been with me before will be calling out in joyful anticipation. Here we have Fairland Garage on the left, where the Norfolk Herald is serviced and looked after. Well, for a day that's supposed to be dry, I don't like those clouds. Maybe the Norfolk Herald is going to get a little bit damp. Oh, well, as long as the driver doesn't get damp, everything will be alright. Golly, I don't know whether you could see that, but that was a magnificent beard that dog walker had got. Beards seem to be very popular now, don't they? We did go through a period when I was a much younger chap where virtually nobody would have a beard. Now it seems that any old beard is worth having. You know, there are those that look as though somebody has broken his razor and he can't afford to buy a new one. And then there are those that grow down to the knees and, you know, they've got half a dozen birds' nests in them. And everything in between. I have to confess, I've never had a beard or a moustache. I did at one stage try to grow a little face fungus, but after the first couple of days my chin and face started to feel so itchy and it made me feel hot. I suppose it was the stubble trapping the air between the individual hairs, I don't know. Anyway, that was it, shaved it off, and I've shaved every day ever since. Crematorium there on the left. So we're just going to take a quick detour now around the country lanes because I don't want to go back through the town of Watton. There's multiple traffic lights at the moment, roadworks, and it's not fun going through Watton. So we'll go the pretty way. I think the trees have changed colour. Even since I was out a couple of days ago, they've certainly turned a bit more. Side there, that's a lot of sugar beet. That's one of the crops that Norfolk is particularly known for. The soils are predominantly clay, although we're on the fringes of Breckland here where the soils start to turn sandy, but basically it's a good growing medium for sugar beet. And they've obviously been lifted there and piled up, and there'll be trucks coming along eventually to take them off to the sugar beet factory. From here, I would imagine they will go to Wissington, which is the factory out towards West Norfolk. There is another factory in Norfolk which is over at Cantley on the River Yare. That's southeast of Norwich, and that has the distinction of being the oldest sugar beet factory in the country. I think it dates from around 1911, something like that. It's just been significantly upgraded. It's one of the most modern factories in British Sugar's chain of factories now. Interesting. Some people do like to leave it to the last minute to come out in front of you, don't they? I mean, it's not as if I can't be seen. It's a white car, for heaven's sake. The subject of sugar beet, if you've never seen one of the modern sugar beet harvesters. They're made predominantly, the ones I see around Norfolk anyway, by a firm called Grimmy, or Grim, I don't know how it's pronounced, Grimme. They are fantastic machines. I've no doubt there'll be a plethora of videos on YouTube if you search for them, but they're worth a look. Huge machines. Of course, they do have to deal with quite a bit in the way of sort of weather conditions, because the sugar beet campaign runs from October through to February, and obviously the beet is then beginning to be harvested October time, which is very often when we get some fairly significant rainfall, and the fields can turn extremely muddy, but these harvesters can just keep going in those conditions, and amazingly still manage to remove the soil from the beet. It does have the unfortunate effect, once they start carting the beet around off the fields, of turning the roads to muddy tracks as well, but if you live in the country, that's one of the things that you just tolerate, because obviously we need farmers to produce food. If they don't produce the food, we don't get to eat. So a muddy road is, relatively little to put up with in that context. Although, having said that, I don't take sugar in my coffee or tea. On the other hand, I do rather like a cake with a nice vanilla sugary infill, and so yes. Wayland, somewhere I hope I never see the inside of. I suppose there's two ways of avoiding that: either never doing anything wrong or never getting caught. I think I'll stick to the former rather than the latter. Like it when you could come straight out and not wait. The other day in one of my videos that I wouldn't fancy doing a trip to Scotland in the Herald because of the noise. I don't know, some of you may be aware that one of the clubs for Triumph cars, called Club Triumph, organise a round Britain reliability run participation every couple of years, and that involves basically doing a circular route including Land's End and John O'Groats, which those of you who know England and Scotland will know that that's the two extremes. I can't remember how far they are apart, but they're a long way apart. 700 miles maybe, something like that, even more maybe on the road. And they do it's done over 48 hours with 2 or 3 drivers. There are stops on the way, but effectively no sleeping stops, because you're travelling something like 2,000 miles in the space of 48 hours. So you have a little stop, a comfort break, and maybe a bite to eat, and then you're off again. Anyway, I saw some photographs and videos from this year's run, and I sent 1 or 2 over to my son Phil, and just said, did he fancy it next time? I was completely tongue-in-cheek. Don't know that it's something I could contemplate at all. And he came back and said, yeah, I'm up for it if you are. Oh heck, I thought, I've opened my big mouth. I'm not sure, we'll see. Maybe we'll be brave enough to do it. I think as long as we took sufficient spares, the Herald wouldn't let us down. But it's just that I don't know whether I could keep it up for that long without actually, one doesn't imagine that one would be getting a lot of sleep in the back seat of the Herald, not given the noise. But I do, when I think about it, I do get a little tempted, but we'll see. Hey Phil. Well, I think it's probably time to finish this little video and say see you next time. Bye for now.